Welcome to S.O.S. Save Our Souls. Again, we just like to welcome you to another segment of S.O.S. Saving Souls. Today's title, we're going to be talking about who's in your back seat. This is referencing young people driving age 16 through 21. And the topic are the people in your back seat, are they friends or not? And the third big thing, the big idea is say, be careful who you hang out with. I want to give you a scripture reference that would help you decide who you should and should not pick up when you're out driving around by yourself. And it says, wisdom will save you from the ways of wicked men, from men whose words are perverse, who has left the straight path to walk in dark ways, who delight in doing wrong and rejoice in the perverseness of evil, whose paths are crooked and who are devious in their ways. Proverbs chapter 2, verses 12 and 15. And the key scenario going forward, we want to look at the story, and which is we want to share with you, just put a thought in your mind, is that, as kids, thinking not only about who we hang out with, but also about choices and consequences. Not only who we hang out with, but about choices and consequences. Now think about this. We had four teenagers. The one who's driving the car, he's 16 years old. He never realized that his decision to give someone a ride would be fatal. Think about what I said. Who's in your back seat? And are they friends or not? And again, be careful who you hang out with. During that day, he just riding around in his car, just having fun. It was a beautiful day. And he saw a friend of his, so he picked up a friend, and along with his friend, that another person got in the car. That made 3 people in the car, including the driver and the 2 he just picked up. Then later on, he received a call from another friend that asked him to come pick her up, and he picked her up. Now you got 4 teenagers in the car, riding around, just having fun. And all of a sudden, the young lady asked the driver, could you just take me over to my mom's house? I need to pick up something. So there was a discussion. So well, before we do that, let's just get something to eat. So they all agreed to stop to get something to eat. And then once they finished eating, they ate the food. They got back in the car and pursued riding around again. As they proceed riding around, they pretty much, as they was passing by this bus stop, they saw a young man there with a bag in his hand. And so they passed by, and the young man that the driver did not know, but he was a friend of the friend, and he said, turn around, let's go back and check out what this guy have in the bag. So the driver thought about it, and he turned the car around. He did a U-turn and turned that car around. And guess what happened? They went back to the bus stop. And guess what? And the 2 young men, they got out and walked up to the young man at the bus stop and asked what was in the bag. And then there was a little resistance with the young man there at the bus stop. So they took his bag, jumped back into the car, and the young driver drove off with them in the back with the bag that they took from the young man. Now, the young man at the bus stop, he called it in, said he had just been robbed. He gave identification, the color of the car and everything. So not knowing to the young driver, he didn't see the police officer behind him, so he picked up the call and followed them, and they pulled into the shopping center. And when he pulled into the shopping center, the police officer drove up behind them, and then he proceeded to the window of the car and just telling him, say, that was a description just came across the radio that a car of your nature just robbed a person, and we just want to investigate. So the young man driving, remember, he's just 16, probably just got his license, but he had 4 people in the car, 2 young men, one he knew, and a young lady he knew, but the third guy he didn't know. So he was a friend of a friend. So The officer started asking him questions, and then the young man that he didn't know was in the back. He back seat heard his voice saying, "Let's go, let's go, let's go." Unbeknown to the police officer, now the young man, probably the first time he ever been pulled over by a police officer, but in this situation, he knowing what he had just did, and the police officer calling him on. Then that voice keeps saying, "Let's go, let's go, let's go." And so he panicked, and then all of a sudden he put the car in reverse. He backed up real fast and almost hit the police officer standing in the middle, in the back of the car. And if the police didn't move, he would have pinned him against the car. So he then put the car in drive and accelerated out, and that when the police started shooting, and he hit him in his chest and hit him in the arm, killing the driver. And they apprehend the other three. Come to find out that they arrested the one that had just got out of juvenile, and the other kid was brought in up on account because he was accessory to the robbery. So the question is, who is riding in your back seat? Make sure when you pick someone up, you know them. You just don't put them in and start riding around because you don't have a clue what is going on. So the key scenario is that be careful who you put in your back seat, because you never know. You might have total destruction on that day, and guess what? It can cause you dearly. You can wind up losing your life, as a young man did, because he didn't know who was in his back seat. Listen to me. Wisdom will save you from the ways of wicked men, from men whose words are perverse, who have left the straight path to walk in darkness, who delight in doing wrong and rejoice in the perverseness of evil, whose paths are crooked and who are devious in their ways. Again, Proverbs chapter 2, verses 12 through 15. Again, know who you hang out with, because there are choices and consequences. So be careful. If you're out driving about, know who you're picking up. Again, know who you're picking up. Know who you're hanging out with. And be careful who you put in your back seat. And I'm out for today. Just want to share that with you. Be blessed.